Please kindly take your seats as we are about to begin. So afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please kindly take your seats as we are about to begin. Thank you. Please kindly take your seats. Again, sorry for interruption, ladies and gentlemen. Please kindly take your seats as we are about to begin the program. Thank you very much. Please kindly take your seats as we start this program. I'd like to begin by inviting Mr. Jeff Nakiro, with the Consul General of Canada in Hong Kong and Macau, to welcome our Prime Minister. Mr. Nakiro has been serving the Canadian Foreign Service for 28 years, and prior to his posting in Hong Kong last month, he has represented Canada's interests abroad in various programs, including trade, diplomacy, consular, and development. Please welcome our Consul General.
Thank you, Derek, for that kind introduction, and congratulations to you on your own new appointment as the President of the Chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, it is an honor to serve as Canada's new Consul General for Hong Kong and Macau, and I look forward to getting to know you all. I would take the opportunity to remind you, if you're a Canadian citizen, to make sure your passport is up to date to travel to Canada. And before I welcome the Prime Minister to take his seat, I'd like to recognize the dedication of the staff and the leaders of the Canadian Chamber in putting together today's event. The work that they do today and every day to promote Canada in Hong Kong is deeply appreciated. Please join me in thanking them. Over the past 7 days, we have watched as the Prime Minister and his family, as well as key ministers, have traversed China. Ils ont rencontré les chefs d'État, les gens d'affaires, et les citoyens et citoyennes ordinaires. It has been a week in which old relationships have been renewed, and new opportunities for Canadians have opened up. And here in Hong Kong, a city built on the optimism of entrepreneurs, we like to think that all of this has been building to this moment and this event. Alors, mesdames et messieurs, s'il vous plaît joindre à moi, please join me in welcoming to the room the 23rd Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau.
Bonjour et bienvenue tout le monde. Good afternoon and welcome everyone. So please kindly take your seats as we'll start the official program. So ladies and gentlemen, please kindly take your seats. So please kindly take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, welcome to today's luncheon in honor of our Prime Minister and his trade delegation. I'm Derek Lee, the President of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. This is my second day in joining the Can-Chan family, and I look forward to knowing and working with all of you to build stronger business, education, and cultural ties between Canada and Hong Kong. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my predecessor, Mr. Philip Learn, for his dedication and efforts for leading the Chamber for the last 3 years. Today is a special day, as we are honored to welcome our Prime Minister on his first official visit to Hong Kong. In addition, we have special guests among us, including the Honorable Chrystia Freeland, Minister of International Trade, Mr. Gregory So, Secretary of Commerce and Economic Development of the Government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, Monsieur Guy Thing-Jacques, Ambassador of Canada to the People's Republic of China, Mr. Jeff Nankerville, Consul General with the Consulate General of Canada in Hong Kong and Macau, Ms. Christine Hogan, Deputy Minister of International Trade. I'd like to express sincere gratitude to all of you for supporting our event, making this possible. Special thanks go to our key sponsors today, including, in alphabetical order, Air Canada, Bank of Montreal, Bank of Nova Scotia, Canadian Bureau Bank of Commerce, Manulife, Quant Limited, Royal Bank of Canada, Sun Life Financial, as well as our corporate table sponsors, our Chamber's Executive Committee and Board of Governors, along with collaborators and friends such as the Alberta and British Columbia Representative Offices, the Bureau d'Immigration du Québec, and the Canadian University Association. We have an exciting program today, as our Prime Minister will deliver the keynote speech, followed by a question and answer session on issues that are important to both Canada and Hong Kong. Without further ado, let us begin with today's keynote speaker. At a Canadian state dinner in 1972, the President of the United States at the time, Richard Nixon, gave a toast, declaring that Justin Trudeau, who, by the way, was only 4 months old at the time, would become the future Prime Minister of Canada. Little did he know, a little over 40 years later, his prophecy would come true when the baby, codenamed Maple 3, will go on to lead his party to a resounding majority victory in the 2015 federal election and become Canada's 23rd Prime Minister. Since taking the seat, Prime Minister Trudeau has focused on diversity and formed the first gender-equal cabinet in Canadian history. Our Prime Minister, Our Prime Minister's priorities include building a stronger middle class and strengthening economic ties with China, including Hong Kong, by enhancing trade and investment links in areas such as finance, food and agriculture, education, technology, natural resources, and tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, it is indeed my honor and pleasure to welcome our Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau.
Thank you, Derek, for that kind introduction. Now, and thanks to all of you for taking time to join us today. This is one of the last events on what has been a really great trip, and it feels wonderful to be surrounded again by so many friends. That includes all those at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce who worked so hard to put on this event. Thanks for bringing us all together this afternoon. And of course, I have to acknowledge some special friends and colleagues who are here this afternoon. Cela inclut notre ministre du Commerce international, Chrystia Freeland, et notre ministre des Finances, Bill Morneau, qui ont travaillé fort pendant ce voyage, comme ils le font à tous les jours. Chrystia, Bill, stand up so we can see you guys. Bill is closing important deals for Canada. Et ils ont travaillé fort et nous avons les résultats pour les prouver. Vous voyez, d'habitude, à la fin d'une visite, on a tendance à crier victoire et parler de ce qui a été accompli, de parler des ententes signées, des accords conclus. C'est certainement ce que je pourrais faire aujourd'hui. As part of this trip, we had a series of commercial signings that saw Canadian and Chinese firms complete 56 deals worth more than $1.2 billion. That's a great start. That's a great start on what I hope and I know will be many, many more joint ventures in the months and years to come. But I think it's important to remember that we came here with an even bigger goal than any one signing or even any 56 signings. We needed to renew and deepen the relationship between the people of Canada and the people of China for the long term. I think it's safe to say we accomplished just that. In meeting with President Xi and Premier Li, we began the important and necessary work of revitalizing the relationship between our two governments. In our meetings with Chinese and Canadian business leaders, we talked candidly about ways that we can work together to make sure that more people, especially those in the middle class and those working hard to join it, can feel the full benefits of economic growth. And in the opportunities I've had to meet with Chinese citizens, I've been reminded of something that is as true here in Hong Kong as it is back in Hamilton. We are more alike than we are different. In Canada, and increasingly in China, the middle class is at the heart of the economy. Talk with the people who get up early every day, get the kids off to school, rush to their jobs, and work hard to make ends meet for their families. They don't ask for a lot. All they really ask for in return for their hard work is a real and fair chance to succeed, and for the opportunity to leave to their children a better world than the one they inherited from their own parents. That's a desire we all share. So it is our responsibility as leaders, me in government and you in the business world, to do what we can to make those aspirations a reality. To start, well, we can continue to pursue more open trade. Canadian goods and services are among the best on the planet, and our businesses deserve to have greater access to the large and rapidly growing economies of China and other Asian countries. With our announcement at Alibaba, we opened a pipeline for Canadians to sell quality Canadian goods to over 400 million consumers. there's a direct line between that market access and more good, well-paying jobs for Canadians. In addition to economic cooperation, we can encourage more ties between our people. Our cultural ties are deepening and strengthening every time we meet. And that includes the 500,000 Chinese tourists who visit Canada every year, with a similar number of Canadians coming here to visit every year. Because we know the value of those connections, we've named 2018 the year dedicated to Canada-China tourism. Although 2017 is our 150th anniversary, and in true Canadian fashion, we'll be opening ourselves to the world. So if we want to encourage people to come for 2017 and 2018, I know Air Canada is one of our sponsors, would be very happy about that. Building on a renewed foundation of friendship and trust, Canada and China can also encourage each other to do better and to be better. Whether the issue is good governance, human rights, climate change, or the need to listen to diverse perspectives. Mais aucun de ces objectifs ne peut être atteint, qu'il s'agisse d'échanges des biens, de bâtir des liens entre les personnes ou de travailler ensemble pour résoudre les problèmes, si notre relation n'est pas solide. Comme je l'ai dit l'autre soir, finalement, ce que je veux bâtir au nom de 36 millions de Canadiens, c'est une amitié faite pour durer. When Canada and China have a stronger, more stable relationship, we can both work together to strengthen and grow the middle class in both countries. A stronger relationship will open up opportunities, including ones we can't anticipate yet, and help us chart a path to broader, cleaner economic growth. And a stronger relationship will make it possible for our two countries to work together in ways that can satisfy not only our own interests, but the needs of our entire planet. So I want to thank you once again for the warm welcome everyone has extended to me personally, to my family, and to our entire Canadian delegation. Your generosity means so much to me. And I'm really interested in hearing the questions that you have for me. So I'm looking forward to shifting to that part of this luncheon. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Doje.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Please kindly remain on stage. Our moderator for today, for the question and answer period, is Ms. Angie Lau, an award-winning journalist and lead anchor with Bloomberg Television Asia. She also happens to be a Canadian and an alumnus from Ryerson University in Toronto. Please join me in welcoming Angie.
I'm sorry, is the mic on? Okay. All right, usually I can broadcast a little bit better than that, but in any case, just on behalf of this audience, welcoming you to Hong Kong. I'm going to start off with a really tough question. I'm going to predicate that by saying this could trigger diplomatic rows, some serious backlash, okay? So just be forewarned. Your favorite hockey team?
I'm a Montreal Canadian.
Okay.
But I have to say, as a proper diplomat, I know, and you're a Leafs fan, and I have nothing but admiration for the courage and blind optimism that Leafs fans have. So good on you for having that strength of character to be a Leafs fan.
I accept that.
See, I'm a fan of evidence-based policy, as you might know, and
all right, you passed the tough test. Okay, you're good. But in all seriousness, this is a very critical time for China and for Canada itself. with China after a hard-line relationship that we had with the previous administration under Stephen Harper. How are you looking to re-engage China? How is it different?
I think governments of all stripes, and historically, it's certainly true for Canada going back generations, or back a generation in my family anyway. There's been an understanding that China is important. But one of the things that has been so clear to me is what we need in terms of a strong relationship with China is a stable, predictable, deeper relationship. I think my biggest criticism of the previous generation's approach, previous government's approach, was just that it was a little hot and cold. There was a bit of unpredictability in there. I think what we need is a constant, solid framework of engagement that allows us to build on positive opportunities and commercial interests, but also have a resilient enough engagement and dialogue that we can talk about the difficult issues, the challenges that come up, the points we disagree on, the points we should be learning from each other on. And I think that kind of frankness and stability is what's necessary for Canada and China as we move forward.
And specifically, how did you do that with this latest visit with Xi Jinping in Qatar?
Well, I was very frank that what we're looking at right now isn't just a short-term blip. We're not trying to create a great deal that will give us a good boost right now and not really think about the future. What I think we want as Canadians, and I think, quite frankly, matches well with what China wants, is a positive, long-term framework to engage with each other and with the world that will allow us to grow and evolve. I mean, we know that the Chinese economy is transforming right now, moving away from just being a manufacturing export economy to recognizing the economic potential of 300 million members of the global middle class who are now consumers and interested in products around the world, particularly good quality products like Canadian products, whether you're talking about lobsters or ice wine or cherries from the Okanagan. There are real opportunities to sell, maple leaf branded products, more than just maple syrup, to increasingly discerning consumers in China. But at the same time, we understand that we come from very different places in terms of governance, in terms of values, and having challenging conversations in an open, responsible way is what a good relationship, a good, solid dialogue needs to have.
There's no doubt that China factors in very important to the Canadian economy. It's a very export-driven one. There is somewhat of a dependency there, and good on you to delay the canola disagreement that Canada and China has had. Did that come with caveats, though, for future engagement with trade and business interests from China in Canada?
No, there weren't conditions attached to it, but it was definitely became a bit of an example of, okay, here we have a specific challenge that we're facing within our relationship with different interests on each side. Are we able to tackle it together? Are we able to work things through? And I think the expectation that we have, and I really got to give a great shout out to Chrystia Freeland, who came not only armed with all the details of the canola file, but she brought a little baggie filled with canola from her father's farm in Peace River, Alberta, to make the point that these are Canadian farmers' livelihoods hinging on this, and we need to get a solution on that. So it was much more of an example of, listen, are we able to work out disagreements or concerns in a way that sets us on the right path forward, and that's why I'm pleased we were able to move forward on the canola issue.
It's a new era of engagement for China and Canada, though I believe the statistic in a 2014 poll was that only 67% of Canadians see free trade deals favorably, and of that, only 36% support free trade agreements specifically with China. They cite a number of things, including loss of control, fear of poor labor standards and environmental standards. How do you overcome the perception from your electorate, from Canadian landscape, when it comes to China?
Well, I think the issue is even a bigger one, and you highlighted it in the first statistic. There is a growing concern and anxiety about trade in the world. We're seeing it in anti-trade sentiment, protectionism, anti-globalization movements within political parties. Brexit can be characterized as an example of that. People are worried that pro-growth policies like trade are not benefiting ordinary citizens. And the danger is, if we don't start demonstrating and implementing trade agreements and outcomes that are good for the vast majority of our citizens, people are going to start withdrawing their support for trade, for pro-growth policies. And that's why one of our biggest focus on everything is the growth we're creating good for the middle class and people joining the middle class? Because if it's not going to be sustainable in the long term. The kinds of anxieties we're seeing around the world as people are closing in are going to leave us all poorer and worse off. So the conversation we have to have isn't whether trade, we're going to have more trade and more globalization, that the world is going in that direction. The question is, how do we shape that in a way that makes people understand that this is good for our communities, it's good for our workers, it's good for the bottom line of families and the future they're hoping for their kids. And that's really the work that, that governments and businesses have to do together. A great example, and I mentioned it in this speech, is the Alibaba agreement we have, where there's going to be a Canadian pavilion that will allow Canadian SMEs to access the Chinese consumer market in a much more direct fashion. When you look at small and medium businesses across Canada, that's a direct benefit to a whole bunch of people that they wouldn't have thought of maybe 10 years ago or even 1 year ago. When you think of China and trade, you think of, oh no, all those jobs we're going to lose. You don't necessarily, that was the old way of looking at it. Now you need to look at it, all those consumers we're going to be able to access.
Well, the Chinese also regard it as what kind of natural resources, what kind of stakes in Canadian companies can we buy? Very famously, in the CNOOC-Nexen deal in 2012, Stephen Harper said this is probably going to be the last time an SOE in China is going to be able to buy a stake in a natural resources company. Are you ready to retract that on behalf of Canada?
I think, and I was very clear around the CNOOC-Nexen deal, I think Canada is a country that needs to draw in foreign investment. We need to draw in global investment as a way of being able to properly develop our resources in ways that are going to create a lot of jobs in Canada. Yes, we have to think about it in terms of what are the benefits, what are the labor standards, what are the environmental impacts, and we have to analyze every deal and have a high degree of confidence that it's going to be mutually beneficial. But I don't think anyone can imagine that we would do better by closing ourselves off from the world. So what I've been doing over the past 10 months is really making a pitch to rooms like this, not always as friendly as rooms like this, to say, think about Canada as a destination for investment. We have stability, we have opportunity, we have long-term growth prospects, we have an extraordinarily capable, innovative, value-driven, hard-working workforce that's well-educated and capable of delivering. We have access to global markets. There are a lot of things when the world is sort of going in the wrong direction. Canada is excited about the opportunity to engage with the world and demonstrate one of our core values, which is that differences and diversity are a source of strength, not a source of weakness. That makes it a big positive pitch that we're looking at saying, this is good for Canadians, it's good for hardworking middle-class citizens, and it's good for all of us.
You're a new player to the G20 stage, and there has been a lot of goodwill that you have favored for Canada. What role does Canada have to play as a middle power
there is a sense out there, and certainly around the G20 table, as we just sat together yesterday and the day before, that there are not as many bright spots in terms of growth and openness and trade as we'd like to see around the world. There's a sense that people are starting to withdraw their support for trade, and that makes politicians a little more protectionist, and it's easier to try and, play to your voting base than say, well, if we're going to grow over the next decade, we need to be thinking about long-term investments and partnerships. So the fact that Canada can actually do this, and it's, I'm glad our government has been able to articulate that vision fairly well, but it didn't come from us. It came from Canadians who live in extraordinarily diverse communities, who understand the importance of drawing on your neighbor's strength, of looking at those family ties we have around the world as a strong potential for opportunity, for innovation, for rethinking the kind of world we want to be part of. And we've been able to pull that together and create a story of an open, exciting, creative, engaged Canada at a time where there's not necessarily that story being told around the world.
And more importantly, how do you engage that balance? Because human rights is very much near and dear to the hearts of Canadians and the global community, to many of us, in that it's part of our social heritage and our social roots. At the same time, we're trying to engage with China more with economic interests. How do you balance that? Is there a trade-off?
I don't know if I like the word balance, because balance does make it sound like you're making a trade-off. You say, okay, I'm going to pull back a little bit on human rights to be able to do this. I think you have to talk fully and frankly about human rights and engage and talk about the challenges.
Do that in Beijing?
Yeah, I certainly did. I do that in private, I do that in public. It's something that, quite frankly, is part of Canada's identity and appeal to a certain sense. We are very frank about our positioning and our strength on the values that make us successful, values of openness, inclusion, creativity, different perspectives. All those things are a strength. And at the same time, we're looking forward to engaging in ways that are mutually beneficial. And I don't think you have to choose. I think you have to be very upfront and frank about doing that in a thoughtful, respectful way, but in a constructive way.
What did you raise in Beijing? How was it received?
I raised the range from consular cases to rule of law and governance, corruption. Just talked about the challenges, but also talked about the fact that Canada is not immune to criticisms on human rights either. I mean, the perspective that a lot of countries have is, well, foreign countries or foreign observers shouldn't be criticizing what are internal matters to us. And I pointed out that a few years ago, we had a United Nations rapporteur come to Canada and put out a scathing report on treatment of Indigenous peoples, of missing and murdered Aboriginal women and girls, and some real challenges that we were facing. Now, the previous government didn't necessarily welcome that report in Canada, but I certainly embrace it, and since I got elected, I've recognized that Canadians want us to always demand better of ourselves, and we encourage people saying, we really should work on this, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. I don't think it means any less of us that we recognize that there's still work to do, and that was the tenor of the conversations I had with the Chinese leadership.
Well, it's very timely as well, not only G20, and for us here in Hong Kong, there was a huge election that happened just over the weekend. It's very significant in that the Hong Kong electorate voted for a lot of pro-democracy, localists, who really are starting to represent a point of view that a growing number of Hong Kong also want to express. How does Canada plan to engage with China on behalf of Hong Kong? How does Canada view Hong Kong's role here?
I'm going to use a line that I've been able to use a few times regarding our neighbors to the south. Canada will work with whoever gets elected and forms government in foreign jurisdictions. We are consistent about our approach and values. We look forward to working with friends and allies and partners on a broad range of issues that are going to benefit our people and the citizens of countries around the world. And it is that engaged, positive approach that I think will serve us well, regardless of what happens in various elections around the world.
We're very diplomatic. Coming up, the Prime Minister.
I am Canadian.
Yes. Showing your true national roots. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the Asia-Pacific. The relationship with Japan, very important one. It's the third most important trading partner for Canada. At times, it is in conflict with China, especially the South China Sea. Where do you stand in that?
Well, we had a very tremendously successful G7 in Japan in the spring, and what we were able to work on there was stronger business and person-to-person relationships with Japan. I don't think that there's any country in the world that is going to decide, oh, we have to pick and choose who we engage with. I think one of Canada's great strengths is we have positive and constructive engagements with everywhere around the world. And the way we do that needs to be anchored in our values, in international rule of law, in rights. These are the things that people expect. And if we are open, consistent, and constructive in our approach to individual countries and to the international community, then I think that's what people both expect and hope for from Canada.
And I'm going to wrap this up with a question that a lot of us get in job interviews. You already won the job, so, but 4 years from now, where's Canada's place in Asia?
Oh, I certainly expect that 4 years from now, the trade relationships will be significantly deeper. The people to ties will be stronger. The investments that Canada is making in Asia in infrastructure, like our joining the AIIB, where we have tremendous experience in building infrastructure, and there's such a massive need for infrastructure investments across Asia. It's an exciting time for Canadian expertise, both on the technical side and on the financing side, to be part of that. I think there are an awful lot of really great potential relationships to build, and I look forward to coming back to Hong Kong, to China, and to Asia many times over the coming years to build a stronger vision, not just for the short term or even the medium term, but for the longer term, because stronger relationships between Canada and the Pacific are going to be models for how we engage with the entire world.
And I hope to introduce you to the newest Canadian coming in January.
Congratulations for that.
17.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Angie. Please kindly take your seats. Now I'd like to take the opportunity to invite our chairman, Mr. Lawrence Nutting, with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, to deliver closing remarks. Lawrence.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. What an exciting afternoon we're having. On behalf of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, we would like to thank our Prime Minister, the Canadian community, and friends of our community for attending today's event. Your continued support in areas of trade, investment, culture, and education not only helps build a strong and vibrant Canadian Hong Kong community, but it also showcases to the world the best of what Canada has to offer. and how Canadians can leverage Hong Kong as the gateway not only to China, but to the Southeast Asia. I would also like to thank our sponsors. We are enormously grateful for your continued contribution within the Canadian community. Thank you, Secretary So, and the Hong Kong government for all your continued collaboration and support to facilitate stronger ties between Hong Kong and Canada, making Hong Kong the ideal international hub to conduct business in Asia. Thank you. Thank you. Much deserved thanks also goes to the Consulate General of Canada in Hong Kong and Macau. Jeff, welcome to Hong Kong. The Alberta, British Columbia, and Quebec representative offices, thank you to you. Your continued support and friendship in building stronger synergies between Canada and Hong Kong is invaluable. Our Prime Minister and his trade delegation's visit to Hong Kong marks a commitment to maintain a strong and collaborative Canada-Hong Kong business partnership. We are confident that your efforts will strengthen the relationship between the two economies so that the Canadian and Hong Kong business communities may continue to work closer together to create mutually beneficial opportunities. Again, a special thank you to our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Thank you. And now may you all continue to enjoy the luncheon and your networking. Thanks.
Thank you.